You guys are great. When you knew that you'd won, and it was only you underneath the sun. You smiled and broke my heart like a cruel, broken, wicked work of art. La 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 la. Long ago, before the flood, there was love and lovely flowing in your empty shell, 13 steps away from going to hell. I don't know why you can't feel that everything you do is real. I don't know why you can't taste the poison that's been playing you to waste.
Oh, I wish you'd put the bottle down,
'Cause it won't make you feel better. No, it won't make you feel better.
and I wish you wouldn't hang around.
'Cause it won't make me feel better. No, it won't make me feel better ever. I've been working hard. You see, I let it down, but now I'm trying to put up my guard. Some protection from your mouth and the sad strings of words that fall out. I don't know why you can't hear, and I'm not gonna scream, never gonna scream in your ear. I don't know why you can't see that every time you bleed, you spill a little bit on me.
Oh, I wish you'd put the bottle down,
'Cause it won't make you feel better. No, it won't make you feel better.
and I wish you wouldn't hang around.
'Cause it won't make me feel better. No, it won't make me feel better ever. La 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 la. Here we go. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. You take this one. Here we go. La 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 la. Oh yeah. La 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 la.
Oh, I wish you'd put the bottle down,
'Cause it won't make you feel better. No, it won't make you feel better.
and I wish you wouldn't hang around.
'Cause it won't make me feel better. It won't make me feel better ever. Thank you.
You look up, I look down. You say hi, I turn around. Autumn skin, summer dress, kinda like a love song, I guess. A couple words, a crooked smile, a minute or two turns into a while. Laughs that linger, eyes that confess, kinda like a love song, I guess. You're the girl with the twinkling eyes, and I'm the boy that you've hypnotized. Someone should really be writing this down. Time to go a bit too soon. What are you doing Sunday afternoon? A long goodbye, a warm caress, kinda like a love song, I guess. On the cool white sand, sweet hesitations, then holding hands. Someone should really be writing this down. One year on a greeting card, you're making easy what used to be so hard. Can't wait for more, won't settle for less. Kinda like a love song, I guess. Kinda like a love song, I guess. Kinda like a love song.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Man, it is so cool to be here. This is such a cool place. I'm ensconced, and I don't even really know what those microphones are right there. We were saying like they look like golden donuts, you know. It's like yeah, man, we're really going for that golden macaroon sound this morning, and you know, so thanks to Todd and company for pulling out all the stops this morning. Thanks to you guys for being here, and thanks to Lori for that lovely introduction again. It is true. My name is Derek Fawcett, and I'm touring to support my debut full-length solo album, Feel Better, which came out on October 7th, and I did my. This is a new effort in music merchandising here. Those of you that can see this here, I don't know. I get dorky about that stuff. Like, okay, well let's arrange something. Let's make a little display Yeah, and I was in Madison, Wisconsin last night, and woo! And you can't say Madison, Wisconsin without somebody going woo. And so far on the tour, I'm on like a 17-date tour, and so far I've been to Nashville and St. Louis, Toronto, Windsor, Valparaiso, Indiana, where everybody's trying to get. And I had a show in Chicago, and I got, tonight I'm going to be at the Astor Cafe. So if you didn't get tickets to the Black Keys or Minus the Bear for tonight, don't worry. We still got tickets available over at the Astor Cafe. I'm playing with a guy who's from here who's great. His name is Hope Country. So if you're digging what you're hearing, we're going to have a good time tonight. But yeah, I went to Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo with two wonderful people who I can see right now, who I haven't seen in such a long time, and it is like the heart's all aflutter right now. I actually ended up after some of you, how many of you have changed your major while you've been here, right? See a few hands, yeah? And within a year, some more of you will raise your hands too. I changed my major like 3 times. First like music ed, and then I foolishly tried to be a piano major for a year, and boy, I got my butt kicked up and down the hallway and the practice room. I learned a lot. But, and then I ended up settling in on a jazz studies major there, and at the time I wanted to be the next Kurt Elling, if any of you know who that is, tremendous singer. And then I realized that whenever I would write songs after I had been away from college for like a month, they weren't jazz songs, they were pop tunes. And so then I changed up, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna make a band that's gonna be like a Toto for the 21st century. We're gonna have horns, it's gonna be great. And then I stumbled into this group with 3 other guys who've become 3 of my best friends. I'm getting married in January, and they're all standing up to give you an idea. And it's a total Fleetwood Mac Eagles thing. And one of the weirdest things is that the reason that band happened, in part, was because I had been to Africa on this singing thing and ended up buying, we get woos for Africa too, that's awesome. I brought back a djembe, because I was just like, hey man, you know, I'll mess around with, wow. From the sublime to the ridiculous in 2 seconds or less. I was just like, you know, I might start trying to play this, but if nothing else, it would be a great place for me to put the remote control in my living room, you know? And it ended up like we had these 4 guys together, but we didn't have a drummer. And I'm like, well, I can you know, mess around with this thing. And I had to learn a lot, but we ended up being a band, 4 guys across the front, mandolin, electric violin, acoustic guitar, harmonica, electric bass, and then me playing this crazy African drum thing. And that total accident turned into 10 years of my life, and touring around the country and putting out 5 records and living out a lot of dreams. And so when that kind of had I think run its course, but in a really good way, I said, well, what do I do now? You know, and I put out an EP, and I was like, well, we'll see if anybody cares about this. There's a lot of people putting EPs out, but there was enough response back, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do a full-length album. And but at that stage in my career, I was like, well, you know, a lot of people use Kickstarter to just make the album. You know, just like, hey, I just need the money to pay for the album. But I had already put out 5 albums, and so if I was gonna do Kickstarter, I wanted to try to have it really do what the name suggests, like start this next phase of my career. So I built into it publicity, I built into it merchandise, I built into it a photo shoot, and ended up kind of throwing in some radio promotion eventually as well. And so the hope is that that this is now sending me into the next phase of my professional original music career, and so far so good. But yeah, and so those are the winds that have blown me to you today. And you know, I got songs I can play until you know, up until the gig tonight if you want. But I figure maybe some of you might also have some questions. Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
What was your band that you were
Called Down the Line. Down the Line. Oh, and by the way, there's a little clipboard that's sitting right over by you guys, right in the front row. Would you mind passing that around? This is my email list if you want to be in touch with me on that level, if we're that tight, if we can be that tight. And by the way, I came up with a great idea here. There's 2 columns. You know, like normally you see an email list and like half of it's wasted. So trying to maximize efficiency here. Thank you for passing that around. Appreciate that. But yeah, any other questions? But down the line, available on iTunes as well. And those are 3 of my closest friends in the world. So, anybody else? Yes. When did I know I wanted to do music for a career? What a great question. I had a really, and probably this speaks to some of you as well, I had like kind of an amazing, positive experience in music in high school. Like that kind of transcended just the music part of it to like, hey, I now kind of feel like I have a sense of purpose as a human. And because there was all this social kind of construct around it, and all these friends that I made, and my goal was to, when I was leaving high school, I'm like, I'm gonna hurry up and get my music ed degree, and I'm gonna run back to my hometown. I'm gonna get my high school choir director's job because he keeps talking about retiring. He retired about 2 years ago, so that plan wouldn't have worked so well. But when I got to college and I auditioned for this jazz group, it kind of hit me like, yeah, man, you're going into ed and that's cool, but you really love performing. And I continued down the music ed track, and I was probably like a couple classes away from getting a music education degree. But something in my gut was just like, man, this doesn't feel right. You know, I found myself really having a hard time motivating to do the work and being excited about the work. And so I dropped a lot of consultation with teachers and everything, and I dropped my ed major, and within about a month of making that decision, I realized it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. And I just switched to a jazz studies major, just focus on performing from there on out. And, and like one of the first things you're concerned about when you're in college about making a decision like that is like what your folks think, right? Because they're the ones that, like helping you with college, or at least for a lot of you guys. And after they saw my senior recital, they're like, okay, we get it. We're concerned, but we see how much you love this and how much people seem to really love what you do, and we love what you do. So okay, we're behind you, and which isn't what all of you will get, probably, right? Probably some of you are sitting there saying, man, you know what? My parents totally don't support me. And it's got to be all about my own motivation, and that has its own series of pluses and minuses too, because you say there's kind of this perpetual oh yeah, that kind of spurns you forward. But yeah, for me it was like when I hit that crossroads between music ed and performing, and ironically I then proceeded just out of college to get a teaching job at a college. And I've been teaching at the university and the high school level, private lessons and kind of on the adjunct capacity ever since. So I never did get that ed major, but I've been doing a whole heck of a lot of teaching, and that has supported my performing as well. So, anybody else?
Can I interject here?
Please.
Would you do another tune, and then perhaps after that, talk to them about your fabulous tour budget and kind of how that happened?
My fabulous tour budget, man. What budget? What sheets are you looking at? It's not that fabulous of a budget. Yes, let's.
No, it's some of the options that we talked about.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're. I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. Let's see. What should we do now? So you probably get a vibe that I'm a relatively up guy. Kind of like, hey, that guy's kind of fun. I'd have a beer with that guy. And and people that know me pretty well who've been listening to my album, they're like, man, are you okay? Because these songs sound really heavy. And it was kind of an unintentional exploration for me doing, a lot of the songs are kind of heavy, but it's generally kind of imagining like when I walk past somebody in the streets of Chicago and they just look like they had just kind of gotten emotionally beaten up, I kind of say to myself, well, how'd they get there? You know, what could have possibly brought their face to that state? You know, and so a lot of that's what a lot of some of these tunes are here. And I'm gonna do a song called "Drive Away Crying." And for the record, I've never been in the relationship that this describes, but in my mind, I imagine a couple kind of arguing outside of some bar off of Woodward Avenue just outside of Detroit. I don't know why, but it's just this very clear image I get. And none of you have ever been there, so that's like, phew. But nonetheless, Drive Away Crying. 4 in the morning, just me and the road and my car. I'm making good time, but I don't think I'm getting too far. Your voice ringing still in my head. Wish I could forget all you said. From a dark, lonely bar, you drive me to my car with your mouth. We start out all right, but the same stupid fight sends us out. Angry and strong is all I let you see. But the second I turn the key, oh, I drive away crying, drive away crying, drive away crying. When you rode shotgun, we flew through the sun and the rain. All the songs on the radio and screamed out each holy refrain. It's so cruel how a sound can decay, all too clear as it washes away. And now I'm trying to remember as the tears stream down from my face the reasons I've got left to love you in the first place. And bright, but so hard to believe in tonight. While I drive away crying, drive away crying, drive away crying. If I hide my hurt in this wheel, you won't see the defeat I've become. Blame my pride, but it's all I got left to prove I'm not under your thumb. Even if it's a lie that I'm numb, I drive away crying, drive away crying. You'll think I'm lying, but I drive away crying. Oh, I drive away crying, drive away crying. Ooh, you'll think I'm lying, but I drive away, drive away. You'll think I'm lying, but I drive away. Drive away crying. You know I drive away crying. Thank you. Man, after that, Lori wants me to talk about money. You've certainly heard already that the money thing with music right now is pretty bad. It's pretty, you know, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can talk about glowingly and be honest.
You know, when I was in Down the Line, and we actually, since I'm here in the great state of Minnesota, we did 4 shows with a band called America in cities. You know America? 4 cities in Minnesota. None of them were Minneapolis or St. Paul. It was Fairmont, Detroit Lakes, Grand Rapids, and Rochester. And after, like, I think most of those shows, you know, we would sit next to America while they were selling merch, and everybody already had America's CDs, and they're like, hey, these guys are great. So we would sell like upwards of 100 CDs after a show, you know, $10 a pop, it's $1,000. Well, no one buys CDs like that anymore. You know, that is a revenue stream that is gone, and you hear people kind of speak angrily about it, you know, in blog posts and things like that. But it's like, you know, that's like when I ride my bike down Lakeshore Drive and it gets really windy and I like curse at the wind. It's about that effective, you know. You know, it's like, hey, you can, you know, it's people just don't buy CDs that way anymore, and so trying to find ways, you know, to make money, really challenging. Trying to find ways to save money, really challenging. In some ways, trying to find ways to save money is easier. And one of the, Lori, I think, was particularly interested in the fact that I got up here via everybody's buddy, the Megabus. How many of you have taken Megabus before, right? Like, oh yeah, yes. I've started actually calling it the drama bus, because if you wait around, there'll be some sort of dramatic thing that happens. So let's start a hashtag, right? Hashtag drama bus. But my fare up here from Chicago to Minneapolis, like a pretty long trip, $1. So, and one of the things that I learned at the beginning of the trip, they have some specific luggage requirements that it's got, you know, like height and width and everything like that. And I was a little bit over, so they nearly like I was traveling with a bench and a stand, and they nearly kind of kicked me off the bus for that. But so this handy case here that I've got, it's within the weight requirement, and it's within the size requirement by a ½ inch. I'm the luckiest cuss possible. It's like, it's got to be like 62 inches, and it's 61.5. So fortunately, I'm able to take a Megabus trip for $1, check that bag, and in my other bag, which is back there, I've got all my clothes, all the t-shirts, all the CDs, and it works. It's a bit of a drag. Jennifer can tell you this morning that I was like, hey, so I got to your place I got to the school at about 7 this morning. Is there just a place where I can like sleep? Because it was overnight, you know. I traveled overnight from Madison last night. I got on the bus at 1:35, got here at 7. And, you know, so some of these things are a drag, and they're kind of physically demanding too, you know. So, but there are ways to try to make things cheaper. And the good news is we're all creatives, right? We're people who naturally try to come up with creative things on multiple platforms. And we need, as a musicians community, to take that creative spirit to the way we do business, you know? I think a lot of us don't think about applying our creativity to that. There's a website that I just started using called Artist Growth. Have any of you ever heard anything about that? Artistgrowth.com. And it is a total music merchandise app, essentially. And it tracks all of your expenses. You just put it all in there, and it says, hey, by the way, you're not making any money, which I suppose you could probably just, you know anyway, but they get really specific. And so it's like I'm trying now to, like, for example, learn from things from my band. Like, I don't think we were as thoughtful as we could have been about goals and money. You know, that like, hey, we want to have X number of fans in Minneapolis by the end of 2004. We didn't think that way, you know, and so trying to be really exacting about what you do, because the music part of it, the music will be great, right? If you're making music that puts you in a position that you can go out and tour and be successful, like the music, that's almost like, in some ways, I don't want to say that's an easy part, but they're like, music is the thing you've been studying. Business is not, you know? And so trying to just find best practices so that the money works to support your art, you know? And, you know, certainly Kickstarter and Indiegogo and things like that are amazing, but the other thing is that you can kind of only do that once, you know, because you expend so much personal capital. So I would recommend to you guys, if you're planning on doing one of those things, only do it once you really think you've got like a bunch of people behind you, and then ask for a fairly substantial amount of money, because you're only going to be able to do it once. You know, I am sure that if I did another Kickstarter for my next album, that the collective groan from everybody that I know would be loud enough so as to be picked up by radar by the Air Force. Like, it would just like I was just so, you just kind of have to be all over social media, and people would be like, oh man, here we go again, you know. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling here. I'm sure we have some questions.
You know, you made me think of a point, then we'll have another opportunity for questions.
Yeah.
But I thought of the word flexible, which is one of the greatest things. Oftentimes I've seen artists, musicians that are not as malleable as they could be, and that it's harder to kind of keep going forward and make a living. From your example, you know, take the bus for $1, I'm sure there are times, and I know I've done that as well. There are also times when you get picked up in a car in a nice, you know, hotel room and an airline ticket.
Yeah.
It reminds me of jobs. So there are times when I've done a job for zero money and done jobs for, you know, $2,000. And boys, oftentimes the $0 job is a lot of fun. So it's more fun than the two.
Yeah.
So being flexible, I think, is a really great pill that you can swallow that's going to help you be more successful than you even imagine.
Well, and sometimes those $0 jobs really lead to something. Like, we had a show in Los Angeles back in, it's probably 2007, and this guy who was trying to work for us, who was trying to be our manager, which we ultimately decided we didn't want to work with him, but he did this really great thing. He's like, hey, I've got this friend that is a booking agent at William Morris Agency, and William Morris Agency is one of the biggest booking agencies in the world, and he's like, man, he can't make it out to the show that you've got booked. Let's quick try to book you another show. And so he booked us this show on a Monday night. We went on at midnight. The only people that were there were like 5 of our friends, this guy and his William Morris friend. And we're like, well, we got to pretend that this is House of Blues right now. We're not going to make any money on this show, but we got to give them our best show possible. And we played the show. I think we played a pretty successful show, and that guy was able to get us the shows with America, the shows with Peter Frampton, a show with Pat Benatar, a show with Phantom Planet. Like, it turned into this huge thing. But the thing that got us there made us no money. It's about kind of this intangible concept of value of opportunity. You know, like, okay, you know, certainly you want to always be trying to find ways to make money, but a lot of times, you know, things that make money aren't necessarily, like, for example, if you're an original music person, you're trying to get original music out there, playing a show where you could make $500 at a bar that basically does only cover bands, the money would be nice, but that's not something that's necessarily going to further your career. It's certainly not going to put you in front of people that are really ready to hear your thing. They want to hear a cover band. That's why they went there, you know? So trying to assess, and that's really hard, trying to assess which opportunities are right for you, and takes a lot of, again, creative thinking and being thoughtful. So.
Maybe another question or two, and then a last song. Anybody have anything you want to ask Derek?
Yes, over there.
Go ahead. Oh, me? Hi. How long does it usually take you to like write a song, or what's your process for that?
It's a great question. I am not a particularly prolific songwriter. Like, there's some people I know that just churn them out, and I kind of go through, phases where, I've got like a bunch of ideas. I kind of write it. Like, usually what happens is I'll have an idea that I think is interesting, and I just quick throw it into my phone. You know, in a way that when I look at it again, I'll remember what it is. So sometimes I'll actually note things in there, otherwise it'll just be lyrics. And then I know eventually there'll be a time where I can kind of carve out some time to be at the piano and write. Some songs totally start getting written and then like, you know, get finished 4 years later, you know, which I think surprises me, as you know, like if you would have told me that that was something that was relatively normal, but I've heard other songwriters talk about it too. And like the song that I finished that I think I'll probably close with actually, that had the last musical piece I had to put in place. I definitely had started it, you know, 2 or 3 years before, and there was just something that was missing, and I kind of like, oh, we put that there, you know, and that finished it. But yeah, because I've become a real believer in editing. There's a thought that like you get an idea, like, oh, this is amazing, this is going to change the world, I'm going to write it down, I'm going to go perform it. And I think that we would all be surprised at how much editing has gone into some of the songs that we love the most. That it's like, no, you write that idea down, certainly, and preserve it, but then you go back over it, fine-tooth comb. Is this the best way that I can say this? Is this the best musical transition possible? And that's why a lot of great songs have collaborators, too. That you know, people say, man, I love all of this, try this. And then all of a sudden, it's like, wow, this is a whole new ballgame. So yeah, I'm a slowpoke when it comes to writing. And so if any of you are also slowpokes out there, don't feel bad. You got company. You got company. So.
One more question.
Yeah, one more question.
Go ahead.
Let's see. Oh, sorry, we got. She tapped and somebody back down. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, he.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Right here. Go ahead.
I was saying like for this, because these are songs that are all on that album, right?
That's right.
Okay,
That's right.
so is it just piano on the entire thing, or are there like
No. So recorded the record in Nashville, and got some great people to play with me, and actually kind of an amazing thing. So how many of you know a guy named Ben Rector? You know the guy Ben Rector? So there's a guy who's been in his band for the past couple of years named Cody Fry, and really a terrific musician in his own right. He actually just went out and did a few dates with Hunter, in Hunter Hayes' band, and he's a really supremely up-and-coming singer-songwriter. You're probably going to be hearing a bunch more from him. And this drummer who's been playing with a guy named Matt Wirtz, and his name is Nico Exaitis, and they actually are both former students of mine, and we had worked together extensively in stuff at the school where I taught them. And when I was trying to figure out where I wanted to record this record, I was like, man, I'd love to work with them again. And they were super excited about the project. So they both play on it. A guy named Tim Marks plays bass, who played bass on 3 of the 5 Taylor Swift records. There's a guitar player who's in Billy Currington's band. So I ended up lucking out, just having an amazing team to work with. But yeah, a lot of the playing I'm doing, again, kind of financially driven, is just me at the piano. But yeah, the album has, and by the way, as you can see, my little display here, I do have that here. And I saw a bunch of you now have questions, and I'm happy to hang around afterwards and take those questions. So please come talk to me. But I'll do one more tune. Are you guys down for singing with me again? Yeah. Is that cool? All right. And as I felt a little bad about saying drunker, particularly about a song that's about alcohol abuse. It's like, okay, we're sending mixed messages here. That was just the first word that came to my head, like, oh, more raucous, drunker, you know, like that's great. Good job, Derek. But yes, as raucous as you can make it. I'm going to take a quick cue from Ben Rector, because he's been doing this thing where he does kind of like a selfie with the audience, and you think you guys could like just be like super crazy for a second? Everybody go crazy. Awesome. And now, let's sing together. Here we go. This song is called Not My Call to Make. And just at the very end, I'm going to have you guys do the following thing. I'm going to have you go, na, 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 na. You try it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm gonna have this high note at the end. You'll know when that is, but don't be quite as polite. Like shout it out, all right? Song called Not My Call to Make. If any of you like Tom Petty, you might hear a little bit of that in here. Welcome back to the bottom. Don't it feel just like it did before? The more things change, the more they stay the same. It's the same old bar, but they all forgot your name. You buzz like busted neon, and you sing like a broken toy. Me, I've washed my hands of the whole affair. You're one cross that I don't need to bear. You can take cover if you wanna take cover, but it's not my call to make. Oh, and you can fall harder if you wanna fall harder, but it's not my call to make. You can do what you want, do what you please. You can jump to your feet, fall to your knees, but you know it's not my call to make. No, it's not my call to make. You're slipping through your fingers, you roll. Watch you fading like a movie scene. Forgive me if I just can't hang around. I can't keep looking, it's such a long way down, way down, way down. You can take cover if you wanna take cover, but it's not my call to make. Oh, and you can fall harder if you wanna fall harder, but it's not my call to make. You can do what you want, do what you please. You can jump to your feet, fall to your knees, but you know it's not my call to make. No, it's not my call to make. Oh, can you feel it when you're falling? Oh, can you feel it? Oh, it's not my call. Here we go. No. Na 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 na. Even louder, come on. Na 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 na. Hey. Na 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 na. Last time. Na 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 na. You guys are great. Thank you so much. Thanks, McNally Smith.